Hello divas, dudes, and dolls, I'm Caricature, and welcome to my hectic, heaven-sent, and hell-bent little review show, Very Slay, where we go over each and every one of the main stage runway looks of Drag Race España All-Stars. Woohoo, what a doozy of an episode we had this week, the second ball that I'm covering on the channel in the last 7 days. I'm very tired. I'm very sleepy. So in real time as I'm filming this, I have just come off of a live stream on Twitch that has already been uploaded to YouTube of my live reaction to the most recent Nintendo Direct. So please go check that out if you want to get some gaming news coverage, and stay tuned because we're going to be doing another one of those next week for Pokemon Day, so that will be coming as well, like Wednesday morning next week. I'm very excited for it. And this makeup, just kind of giving, kind of loving this like soft little doll vibe. Enough about all of that. We had a ball this week. It was the Heaven, Hell, and Capital Sins ball. Their first look had to represent heaven, the second look represented hell, and the third look was a look that they designed in the workroom based on an assigned deadly sin. For those who are new here who have never caught an episode of Very Slay before, if I think a look is just fine, middle of the road, we give it an okay. If I love it, we give it a slay, and if I don't, we give it an A. And in a case like this, where there's a ball episode and there's multiple looks being presented to discuss, then I will additionally be deciding where in those three individual placements their entire package lands as a whole, at least in my opinion. So with that said, let's get into our first look today, shall we? Up first in the category of heaven, which I learned from Marta Mama this week, that the Spanish word for heaven is the same word that they use for sky. So just heads up, there are a few looks, including this first one, where they went a little more literal with it. They didn't go necessarily like holy, heavenly. They went literal sky, which is kind of fun. I love this so much. So it's specifically a Lee Bowery reference and very Club Kid 1980s drag, but the fact that she's in a bodysuit that is a cloud print with this huge balloon floating above her head, her hair is supposed to be like fire, and this wicker basket corset dress situation with the little sandbag to be a hot air balloon. This is so cool. It's so conceptual, and I think it is really successful at delivering the idea while still being quite fashionable in terms of silhouette and structure. It's very artsy, which I love. It's a very literal idea, but it's done in a way that is very like, absolutely giving this a slay. Her hell look, I thought this was really strong too. There's this collection from Moschino from a few years ago that Dita Von Teese starred in like a fashion editorial film for. And there's a dress that she wears that has the little butt cut out that Jorigi's dress does, which that's what this reminded me of. But I loved how elegant this is. It's very refined. It's very like high-class vampire woman, which I love aesthetically. There's a period element to this makeup too that I really enjoy. You know, maybe it's because I kind of have that going on today too with these thin little brows, but I thought this was really cool. And I loved how effective on stage the light in the mouth was, because this look was supposed to represent sort of this like inner demon taking over her when she said some not so nice things on an episode of her original season. So I thought this was fantastic. This is a great silhouette. I think the horn breast situation, I think they could have been a little bit smaller for scale, but I loved the long fingers. I loved the chain elements on the dress as an echo back to her look that she's referencing the episode from in season 2. And again, the hair's great, everything else about this I really enjoyed, giving this a slay for sure. And for her look that she designed this week, her assigned sin was sloth. And this is a concept we've seen before of the pillow with the hair sprawled out, so it's nothing new, but I think this is done really successfully. What I love about this is that the fabric she used for this kimono robe situation, it looks like a comforter. Like, it looks like she's just elegantly wrapped up in a blanket, just lounging back with her hair all sprawled out around her. It communicates this really strong visual on stage, and it really brings the idea home. I think the color palette is really great. The particular shade of blonde that she went with for this hair goes really nicely with this fabric choice, and it kind of pulls the gold element out of the print. So I'm a big fan of that, and for me, this is also a slay. Her package overall, it shouldn't be a surprise. She was in the top for a reason. She's getting a slay too. Up next is Samantha Valentine's. For her heaven look, she went with this high fantasy Pegasus look with this ornamental bodice piece that does kind of give me like a little bit Bayonetta in terms of like the really ornate gold work and the face. I thought this actually is the best thing she has ever presented on the stage of Drag Race, by far, miles above anything else I've seen her do on this show. This is fantastic, and it's goofy, it's silly, it's high fantasy, which I have never seen her do, period. And what I love about this is the way this is structured, because her arms are in the wings and not in the arms that are like the front legs of the horse. So the way that this is designed, honestly, when you look at it straight on or look at it at first glance, it really had me freaked out because the front legs are positioned exactly where the shoulders would be. So it reads really naturally. It doesn't look forced. It doesn't look like it's tacked on. And when she walks, it kind of like bounces. So it has that element of movement there, so it's not stiff either. Really well designed look, whoever made this. Great job to them. I really loved the way she performed this. Really, really strong look for her, giving this a slay. Her hell look, I wasn't a huge fan of necessarily, but I still think it is a strong look. I really like this kind of like devilish fashion woman she went with for this. The invisible dog, I thought that was very funny. I love that the judges thought that it looked more like she was using a metal detector than walking a dog. I also really liked that she went for a bald look and just had this little spit of hair on the top and the horns attached to her bald head. I thought that was an effective choice. The cape silhouette on this is a really cool shape. Red and black is a great color palette on her. So for me, this is a strong look for her. It definitely gives like fashion demon woman. I'd say this is successful enough to warrant a slay. Now, her look that she made, on the other hand, her assigned sin was greed. This, to me, was one of the weaker looks in this category. Makeup looks great here. I love this wig on her. This look, it was just kind of tacked together. It's not the best design. I do like the color palette of all the layers in the skirt here with the pink gloves as an accent. I think that's a really strong choice because it really makes the bodice of this dress really pop with all the gold accents, the chains and the money and the poker chips and all of that. I think it's a decent look, but I don't think it's anything spectacular. I don't know. This is just okay to me. But I think overall, she got the placement she deserved this week. I think her package as a whole is still a slay. Up next is Paquita. Her heaven look is based off of one of the saints, I believe, in Spanish culture. Of everybody that's been on any season of this show, Paquita's drag has been the one that I think has been the most really educational to me personally about like Spanish culture. I really appreciate her drag a ton, and I love her and think she's fantastic and stunning and gorgeous and incredible. This first look to me is very simple. It's a very well-made look. It's very gorgeous. I love this cape robe situation. This blue is really, really gorgeous color-wise on her. The dress she starts off with is really simple, not my favorite. And then she reveals underneath it to this gold corset. It's a detailed corset in terms of like the work that went into it, and it's a gorgeous corset. But I think this look overall is very plain, it's very safe, and it's not as loud as some of the other looks this week on the runway. So for me, this is just okay. Her hell look, on the other hand, this is so Alexander McQueen. I loved this look. This is the scale that I was missing out of that first one. The antlers with the veil, stunning. This red ball gown is gorgeous. I think this is one of the bigger scale looks we've gotten out of Paquita across either season. This to me was fantastic. I just love the detailing, and the arrows through made sense with where they come out on the back. That's not easy to pull off, that illusion. I'm a big fan of this. To me, this is a slay. Her look that she made, I think this look in itself is a well-designed look, and she performed it well. I wasn't super familiar with the concept of the 13 roses that her look was based off of, a group of women who were executed during the Spanish Civil War, I believe, and so they've become like a bit of a beacon for resistance. Using that as the point of reference for a look to embody wrath is such a powerful statement. You know, like respect the hell out of that. My biggest problem with the look though is that I don't see, when I look at this photo here, I don't get wrath immediately. If you said this look is supposed to be one of the 7 deadly sins, I would not know which one it is. The way she performed it on the runway, I would get. I don't think that that idea totally communicated across. At the same time, like, she had all this stuff to work with. It was like barbed wire and bullets and like war military things. I think it's such a punk thing to like have this very obvious on the nose idea and go, you know what, this is what they want me to do. I'm not going to do that. I'm going to tell the story of people affected by war and conflict and use that story and the idea of fighting back against that power. I love that sentimentality. Knowing that now, I appreciate this look immensely. When it comes to the execution of the challenge, I would say it's just okay. I would still say her package overall, because I loved the concept of all of her looks and I loved the execution of the second one in particular. I'm going to give her like a soft slay, like a little slay. A tiny one. Up next is Sagittaria. Now, these looks, oh, diva. This heaven look is so good. The ruffles throughout this. The silhouette is nothing we haven't seen before, but the sleeves are so good. This headpiece, fantastic. Like, she just looks like a goddess. Absolutely no faults with this. The jewelry accents are all right. I think my favorite part of this whole look is that the headpiece is the top of the sun rays, but then the necklace is the bottom half of that. So it really completes that shape. There's some weight to this train too. It looks like a brocade. It moves really beautifully. Like, it's a heavy fabric, but it also reads pretty light on the runway. Like, it reads pretty floaty, which I think is a very difficult thing to pull off. In terms of the design of the garment, the sleeves are my favorite part of it. I love the tiered structure of them. This is a really strong look, so I'm giving her a slay. Her hell look. This is my favorite look of her 3 this episode. This Spider Woman moment, like the feathers to kind of have that effect of the spider legs, is so cool. I think it's really effective. I didn't even notice the little spiders on the dress until I looked at the photo. Now, I'm not the biggest fan of this hairstyle. I don't know, I'm kind of at a point where like, if you're gonna do this like straight flat hairstyle, but with the sculptural element tacked onto it or on top, it's gotta be done really, really well. And this to me is not super strong. I do like that parts of it have like a red tip because it goes back to be like spider fangs and it kind of goes against the red nails that are on these gloves. That part I think is great. I love her makeup here. I love the bodysuit and how that all kind of molds together. This is her strongest look I think that she's presented so far this season, giving her a slay for this. Her look she designed, she was Lust, and so the judges commented that her look wasn't literal enough, and in her package, she said that she designed her look to be quite phallic in nature in terms of the shape, and I think she did a really good job of executing that sort of style, and then having the hood, you know? I can't believe this girl took the idea of an uncircumcised penis and said, I'm gonna make it fashion. And then she added the shibari ropes. I thought that was a really good touch. This is a strong look for me too. I do wish she had just a little bit of a nail because I think she just needed a little something, even if it's just a little nude stiletto, just a little oomph to that. But I understand if she's changing looks, you know. I think it's still a strong look. I'm giving her a slay. I think her package overall is a slay. And personally, for me, I think she should have been in the top 2 if we were evaluating the entire package collectively. Up next is Poupée Poisson, and her wig in this look is precisely what I was talking about during Sagittarius critique. I hate this hair. She didn't need any of the sculptural parts. She should have just left the flat hair and called it a day. I understand she's supposed to be the sun, and then her coat dress is the sky. And as she's doing this walk, pretending like she has to go to the bathroom, like she has to pee, and then she opens the coat and she's wearing rhinestoned tights because it's like the pee has run down her leg and created a rainbow with the interior of the coat. It is an idea that she delivered, on the runway. But this is not a flattering garment. This is not anything impressive to me. It's a ho-hum dress. For me, this is okay. For her hell look, I have thoughts about this because to me, the Mugler Chimera dress, that is one of my favorite pieces of couture ever made. So I view it in like very high regard. That is like a sacred work to me. Okay, we're on the same page here. Like if you're going to recreate it or echo it, you need to either do an exact recreation that is immaculate, or you need to do something to tweak it, to change it, and make it new and unique and reinvented. And I think she tried to do that. She tried to do the latter part here, but it's a little too close to the original without being the original that it doesn't work for me. I hate this color palette. I think the design elements of it are too clunky. Like, I think the scales of it aren't all that great. I hate the hair all through the dress too. Did not find this flattering. I don't like her makeup here. I get that she's supposed to be Medusa. I think had she just done a dress out of the scales and not done the Mugler reference, it would have been stronger. The Mugler dress works because the headpiece that goes with it is so specific with the feather elements of it, because it's the scales, the hair, the feathers, all together. When you don't have all of those elements, it's not as successful to me. The hair, I don't think was necessary with this look. She could have just done the scales and it would have been stronger. And I think the color, it's really flat, it's really drab, and it looks really desaturated. And on the runway, it didn't particularly look all that strong. So for me, I'm gonna give this an A. And then we have her gluttony look that she made. She kind of got shafted with what she had to work with. It's just not good. Just no. She just tacked stuff onto a corset. It's just literally like little food trinket things tacked onto a corset with a black panty and a boob. There's nothing exciting about this. There's no real design to this, in my opinion. For me, this is an A. Overall, I would say her package this week is an A. I think overall she was the weakest one in this challenge. Up next is Juana Gongora. Her heaven look is based off of Saint Sebastian, who I know is pretty prominent for queer people in Spain. Usually depicted being like impaled with arrows. I really like that she's being impaled with flowers, and I really like the sort of nature take she went with this. I think the gold is really stunning on her. I like the breastplate element of this. I'm not crazy about the fringe bodysuit, the nude undergarments. I think that part of it is not particularly strong. I like the tiered levels of fringe on the leg. I think it's a cool design. It looks really interesting in the still. It also looks really good in motion. However, to me, I don't think this is anything amazing. It's just okay. I appreciate the direction she chose to take with her hell look of doing Anubis, and there's almost this like Versace treatment with all the gold chains and the body jewelry that I enjoy. However, I think this look was better before she took the head off. When she had the head on there and it was that strong silhouette, I was like, oh, this is kind of a fun idea. But when she took the head off and it's just this wet wig underneath it, what was the point? What was the reason? I just didn't really care for it. It really isn't anything to write home about. It's a leather dress with some gold body jewelry and a weird boot pant cover situation on this one leg that I don't really understand. I think it would have been stronger if she had the scales. Balances the heart of the people who pass through the afterlife and determines if they get to go on or if they like get reincarnated or if they die or wherever they go in the afterlife, whatever the deal is. So I think it would have been stronger had she brought that element into it. For me, this is just okay. And her look that she designed this week, based off of envy. To me, the only element of this that I got envy from was the green wrapped around her waist. This jumpsuit is such an unflattering cut. It's not fit very well to her. It's really boxy, especially through the pants. And jumpsuits are hard to make, especially in a short amount of time like this. Had she just done this as like a short dress, I think it would have been stronger. The color of this fabric is strange too. I can't quite tell if it's a two-way sequin with a green underside. It looks like coppery red to me. And so when you have that color with the green and gold, it's kind of giving Christmas a little bit, just a smidge. I did like her concept of being like a magpie, always on the lookout for things to steal, and that's why she has all the magnifying glasses, because she's always looking at people's things. The snake detailing in the jewelry, I really didn't understand the intention of that. To me, it didn't really read as envy. While Paquita's look didn't read as the sin, it was at least a flattering and well-designed garment. This is neither of those things, so this is an A for me. I would say overall her package is just okay. Arguably, I would have put her in the bottom over Paquita. And finally, we have Drag Sethless. Sethless's Heaven look, I had no idea upon first look at this that this was denim. I don't think I would have ever gotten that. Just looking at the way this fabric is treated, the print on this, the way it's painted and treated is gorgeous. This is exactly what I would expect for Sethless or a Heaven and Hell ball, because Sethless does a lot of religious iconography in their drag. Canary Islands does it a lot in general. Call me a conspiracy theorist here. The theme of this challenge felt so particularly tooled to Sethless's drag that it was like there was no way Sethless wasn't going to be in the top. It just felt like they had done it in a way to really be like, oh look, we're gonna praise Sethless even more, show that we love Gran Canaria drag and that Gran Canaria drag does well on Drag Race España. Historically, outside of Sethless, it doesn't. So felt kind of weird to me. But this look is really, really good, really strong. One of the strongest looks in this category, I would say, with Jarigi and Sagittaria. Like this top 3 on the Heaven category is correct. I say this is a slay. Sethless's strongest look. The photo that we have here today doesn't really show the full scale of this look, but I think honestly, this look is the reason why she was in the top, solely because it is really powerful on stage. The original impact of this, way too on the nose. It's a great spectacle piece. I really love the fact that the bodice part of the dress is made up of newspaper clippings from articles about when she was being sued by this like Christian group for this performance that she did. I thought that was a really cool touch. The silhouette is really gorgeous as well. I appreciate the storytelling of this, and in the original presentation of this, she's got this apparatus around her that has a bunch of microphones, so it's like press mics, and then a bunch of crows coming around her. So on stage, it is one of the best presentations I think we've ever had in the history of Drag Race, especially the international seasons. It like does its job in telling Sethless's story in particular. It doesn't necessarily read as much for a hell theme unless you know Sethless's story. So I feel like it's one of those looks that you kind of have to explain it a little bit in order to understand the intention behind it, whereas some of these other looks are immediately readable. This is still a slay, but I don't think it was as incredible of a look when you were just talking about the look itself. Her look that she designed, on the other hand, this, I cannot believe she was in the top for this. Apparently, Sethless's first 2 looks were just so ridiculously good that they were totally able to bypass the fact that this look fell apart on the runway. Like the knee pads on the boots just fell off in the presentation, and they said nothing about that. I think conceptually it's a good idea. So her sin was pride. I think it definitely delivers that because, you know, all the mirrors, it has that element of vanity to it. However, I just think it's like Sagittarius says in Untucked, where it's a bunch of broken mirrors glued to a corset. And this looks like a costume that she already had that she just embellished versus actually making a costume like everybody else did. That on top of what the theme was, it felt like they're very much pushing her, you know? Like it really felt like they kind of just like handed her a win this week when it wasn't necessarily deserved. I think Sethless is incredible, and I think Sethless has done really great all season long so far. I think those first 2 looks should have kept Sethless in the top, but I think that this third look should have taken Sethless out of that running. So I'm going to say that this look is an A. I would still say that the package overall is a slay, but because those first 2 looks are so strong. But outside of that, we are back, divas, to the era of questionable judging on this show. All right, that is everybody, and it is now time to pick our slay of the day, my favorite look of the week. Now, unlike my UK versus the world review that came out this week, I have one very clear favorite look out of this whole episode. And for me, that was the very first one that we saw, Jiriji's Heaven Look. So Jiriji is going back in the list once again. She has now taken up 4 out of the 7, I believe there will be, slots in this final video. So woohoo, she's making a very strong case for herself to be the slay of the season, which as a reminder will be determined in a post-crowning ranking video, and I will then do a full illustration of whichever look comes out on top. As always, if you enjoyed the content, be sure to like, comment, subscribe, all the things. We are on the track to 350 subscribers. We are growing each and every week more and more and more. So thank you all to all the new people who have come along for the ride. We've got more gaming content coming, more Persona 3 Reload will be coming this week / this weekend. I'm excited for all the things to come. And then Saturday, I have my final performance that I'm gonna be doing in my local area for quite a while. And I'm so excited because it's a video game show. So if anybody here happens to be in Central Illinois, be sure to check my socials to get all the details on that particular show. And maybe, just maybe, if you play your cards right, viewers, I just might do some very slay episodes in those looks from the show. So if you want to see some commentary from Bayonetta or Tifa Lockhart, let me know. Maybe we'll do some cosplays for these because I've already got the looks, so I might as well use them, right? Well, anyway, that is going to be it for me for this one. Be sure to go out there, stay kind, stay queer, and make sure that your day is very slay.